Hi, I'm Jessie Hurley, and today's video is going to be focusing on this cute mini album that showcases the Caterpillar accordion fold. And this was a class that we did in the shop a couple of years ago, and for which Jessica has been waiting patiently for video instruction. So this video is dedicated to you, Jessica. The tools you're going to need to create this awesome album are simple. It's your paper cutter, a good strong adhesive, and I'm using my double-sided Sookwang tape, and a scoring tool. Though some of you will be surprised to see that I actually own a large score pal, since the Score Buddy is always the baby that I like to showcase in class. The products you will also need to create this album are a base cardstock that is cut to 12 inches by 9 inches, 2 chipboard pieces for the cover that are cut 3 1/8 by 9 1/8, and a pretty pattern paper that's going to cover our chipboard, and it is an inch bigger all around, so it's 4 1/8 by 10 1/8. Now the first step in this project is to work on our base. On my long edge, that 12-inch edge, I am going to, whoops, wrong tool, I am going to score at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 9 inches, right through my Post-it note. So I am scoring this, you can't see my score lines, at 3, at 6, and at 9 inches. I'm then going to turn my cardstock so that it is on the vertical level. I'm going to put my notes here where you can see them. And I'm going to make 2 cuts down my cardstock here. I'm placing the edge on the vertical axis. I'm placing my edge at 3 inches, and I'm bringing my cutter up to 1.5 inches and then pressing into my paper. I'm going to draw that blade down only to the 10.5 inch mark and not any further. You can do this with an X-Acto knife if you prefer, but I have created that one cut line. I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but now I've moved my paper over so it's at 6 inches. So at the 3 inch mark, I've cut from 1.5 inches to 10.5 inches, and I'm going to repeat that at the 6 inch mark. I'm going to bring my cutter down, press in my blade at 1.5, and draw it down to the 10.5 line, giving me those 2 open lines that don't cut all the way to the end. Now this is where the crazy folds come in. See if I can leave that there so you can see him. On this first quadrant, I'm going to fold my paper in and use my bone folder to get a nice crisp crease. But, oh, I forgot a score. After you've done your cuts, you need to get a score line where those 2 1.5 inches meet. And I'll just spin him around and do the same. Okay, so that first quadrant I have folded in. That score line I just created is also going to fold in, but then I'm going to make a mountain. And that bottom quadrant, the same thing, is going to be a valley fold that I can use my bone folder to flatten. Once I have those 3 initial folds, you see how they are against each other, a valley, a mountain, a valley. The next scores are going to be in the opposite direction. So in that first section, I have a valley, then I go to a mountain, In my second section, and I'm just going to do a light crease because it'll help me figure out where I am. And the bottom one is a mountain again. Back to the top, I've got a valley, a mountain. With that extra crease I made, I've got another valley. And in the bottom section, find my crease here, I've got my valley. And you can already see that fold starting to come together. So now I can go in with my bone folder and sharpen up all my creases. And this is where, if your scoring is a little bit off, you can use your bone folder to just straighten everything out. I'm just spinning it because I am right-handed. This needs a little bit of a wiggle waggle. And so now I have my nice crisp folding for my base of my mini album. Okay, let's put that aside for the moment and work on our chipboard covers. So as I say, my pattern paper is an inch bigger, giving it a ½ an inch bigger all the way around. And you can do a strip of Sukkwang just to keep him, or double-sided adhesive that you're using, just to keep him sort of kind of steady in the middle there. My chipboard base. Just so while we are folding up our cover piece, nothing's going to wiggle waggle on us. Okay. The first thing I do is I put my strong adhesive in my 4 corners on both pieces. We're going to do a traditional book cover here. Really simple, but gives us a more finished edge. You can score around the paper to make it a little easier to fold. The pattern paper I chose isn't too thick, so I should be okay. These corners I'm now going to fold over at approximately right angles. That one's not exactly a right angle, but you get the idea. Onto all of my strong Sukkwang adhesive. Right up to that cardboard tip. And we're going to do that on both of them. Might as well do them at the same time. Right up to the tip. So you can see how having that bit of Sukkwang tape holding my chipboard down, I'm not too worried about things getting in my way, falling apart, whatnot. Now I'm going to put my Sukkwang tape. You can either put it on the edge of the paper or you can put it on the edge of the chipboard, whichever you prefer. I am an over adherer. The more glue the merrier, so that things don't come apart. And as I said, you could put a score line in against that chipboard to help fold it over, but this paper isn't too thick, so that I can get right up against that chipboard edge and create that more finished corner. And fold that over nice and tight. Now I'm not worried about this middle part here because of course that's going to get covered by the inside of our mini album. It's one cover complete. I don't want to cover the instructions there in case you need all those measurements. all four sides again. Nice and tight to the edge. And I do this covering of chipboard for my mini album book covers all the time. You may have an easier way or a technique you prefer to cover your chipboard. By all means, do whatever works for you. Cover it in paper, paint it, embossing powder. I now have my two covers. Back to my base piece here. I want to make sure that this side is going to be adhered nice and tight and strong to my cover, but not, obviously, I'm not going to put any adhesive in that little fold bit there. So close-ish to the edge. And when I originally taught this class, it was a Christmas class, as I mentioned, and the theme was setting up for Santa because I guess she was 2 at the time, we were starting all our traditions, all our Christmas traditions. And so I loved the idea of this mini album being something that would stay out every year. We could put it out. We could see all the little things we did, from making our own wrapping paper, to decorating the tree, to putting reindeer food out on the lawn, Santa's key hanging from the door, all the little traditions that I wanted to start with my daughter. So I now have my adhesive on all the edges there. And I realize, as I'm doing this, I did say you didn't have to worry about covering that. However, I forgot that when you're doing your back, that chipboard will show up. So if you want to just, this is the leftover from when I cut the base to 12 inches by 9 inches. I am just going to throw this one kind of sort of in the center because my ripped edge is going to get covered anyways. I'm going to remove the protective covering. Okay, and this is where you want to make sure that you get nice and even. You might need to stand up, as I'm trying to do without getting my head in the camera and the tape stuck to my finger, so that I now have a nice sturdy cover for my album. Now when it comes to my back piece, I can do exactly the same thing, but there's nothing that's going to keep my album closed. So let's add that little scrap of cardstock before I forget. To cover any chipboard that might show up. And then I've got a bit of ribbon here, and he measures approximately 12 and 7, 19 inches, but it's all going to depend on how big of a bow you would like. On my original album, I had my bow quite low because I was just going for a different look with it being such a tall book. But on this album, I'm going to stick them down the center. So, or the kind of sort of center. I'm going to put my double-sided tape there. Put my ribbon there. And then, oh, this is the piece I need. Remove all of my tape or protective cover from the tape. You don't want to remove the tape or it won't stick to anything. Okay. And then, of course, this is my back cover. We're going to try and line up the front to the back as evenly as you can. Tape everything down. There's your pretty bow. Maybe not so pretty, but you get the idea. And then when you open it up, you've got your Caterpillar accordion fold mini album. And so you can decorate each section however you like. Don't forget the back. On my album here, we've got a picture of my daughter and myself doing the ornaments. I cut little 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 inch squares of coordinating pattern paper. I've got a journaling block, some buttons. This is Ella writing her letter to Santa, and Ella decorating her mini tree that sits in her room. Printing up doing potato prints on our own wrapping paper. Oh yeah, we went all out that year. Doing our own cookies for the cookie swap. This is actually Andrew doing a cookie swap at midnight, the night before the cookies were due, of course. And our cookies and carrots, and Santa gets eggnog in our house with cinnamon on the rim of the glass. I'm not sure whether you can see that picture. And on the back, reindeer food, little journaling block I didn't fill out. And of course, the key for Santa to get into our house because we don't have a chimney. So there is our Setting Up for Santa mini album. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you get into your craft room now and make your own Caterpillar fold mini album. There he is. Of course, I can't make a bow at the last minute. There we go. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.